thanks for joining me today on this little journey that we're going to take on hand knitting. So I have been obsessed with arm knitting, hand knitting, these gorgeous chunky merino wool blankets on Pinterest. Now, they make it look really easy. It's also kind of an investment. Merino wool is lovely and gorgeous and expensive. So I've been waiting to do this project, and I'm sort of afraid of knitting. I took on knitting actually in 5th grade. Our gym teacher actually knew how to knit, and a few of us wanted to learn to knit. So actually after school, she gave us these classes, and I sucked. I was so bad at knitting. Really good at sewing, really good at embroidery. You can see the YouTube channel. I can do lots and lots of things. Evidently, knitting is not one of them. My sister, on the other hand, is an amazing knitter. And then she was telling me all these things about merino wool, and she was kind of scaring me a little bit about trying it. I don't know. We're going to take this adventure together. So, the first thing I had to figure out, if you're going to take this on, is how much wool to buy. And from what I understand and what I ended up doing was I purchased 8 pounds of merino wool. And yeah, it's 8 pounds, and it's shrink wrapped. And I bought this on Amazon. Definitely check out your reviews. Some of these yarns are coming from overseas. They aren't really reputable sellers. So figure out, who you're gonna buy from, make a good choice. I'm hoping I made a good choice. And I'm doing like this winter white blanket for my mom for Christmas. So it comes in this bag, and it's totally compressed, which I would imagine is an issue, because if you want something fluffy and yummy like all the blankets that we're seeing on Pinterest, this isn't gonna work. So I think we have to do some prep with this, from what I understand, a few steps. So first of all, I'm going to take this out, and from what I understand, the first thing you wanna do is take it out and loosely unwind it, and very gently. Wow, look at this, it's like exploding in a fluffy little cloud. Wowza, I can't believe this was in here. Look at this thing. Oh my God, wow. It's like a big fluffy cloud. Oh, it's delicious. Delicious. Merino wool, chunky yarn. It was made in China. The brand is Darunen, in case you want to know. Darunen. Got it on Amazon. Not gonna lie, guys, it was $100 for 8 pounds. So it's a nice gift. So when you get your yarn, and especially if it's been dyed, find the end and loosely unwind it in a gentle pile. It's very delicate at this point, so, and especially if it's been dyed, it's freshly dyed. And when it's been freshly dyed or bleached or whatever, the fibers are very delicate. So you need to kind of air it out for 30 minutes. An hour is probably better from what I've read and understood. So we're gonna unwind it, find a clean spot, and if it's in a skein, I guess you're supposed to unwind it close to the skein, and don't pull from up here, pull closer, because you don't want to break it. All right, so I'm gonna unwind this and put this in this gentle, loose pile, and just kind of air it out a little bit, and then we're gonna go to our next step. From what I am not an expert, you guys. If you're watching this, you're probably not an expert, and you are just as curious about this as I am, so we'll figure this out together. Woo! I'm still going. Ooh. So I'm glad I found a room that doesn't have a lot of stuff in it because you're gonna need a lot of room for this project. I haven't even started knitting yet. Okay, we're done. Figure out where your end is. Leave your end somewhere where you can find it. I don't know if that's the right spot. I'm gonna put it over here in this corner. Okay, it's puffed out and it's airing out. And I think the airing out is especially important if you have dyed wool. This, I think, was probably bleached because it's that winter white. It's not natural. There would be some inconsistencies in the color, I would assume. So this does need a little bit of breathing, especially because it's been so compressed in this package. So, all right, I'm gonna set the timer for, I'm gonna do 30 minutes or so. And then we'll, the next step is felting, because merino wool sheds. This is raw wool. It's also very loose and very delicate. So it needs to get strengthened up a little bit, and then we can get some of the fibers off. So when you give the blanket to someone, you're not leaving a bunch of fibers everywhere. Like what's on my tights right now. Oh my gosh. It's like my cat just rolled all over me. Holy cannoli. Yeah, felting is in order. Okay, so, yes, my tights were completely covered with fuzz. So you don't want your recipient or you to have to deal with that with this blanket. So there's a process called felting. And because I'm a newbie, and if you're watching this, you're a newbie, right? If there's anybody out there in my community or elsewhere that wants to add some tips on felting or how to prevent merino wool blankets from shedding, please share in the comments below and help us all out. We could all use it. But yeah, this is something my sister warned me about, and she's like an amazing knitter. Oh my God, this thing is like gonna, oh my God. All right, so felting. Couple ways to do it. One, from what I understand, is you're just gonna run your hand through gently, because this is delicate stuff and it does tend to loosen up and fall apart. So that's one way. Do it gently, put on, I don't know, reruns of Game of Thrones or something and a glass of wine, but don't spill it on your yarn, and just do this, right? Now, what does this do? It helps with the shedding. It also helps strengthen, because this is, I don't know, roving, non-roving, help me out here. It's not, you know, twisted. It's not spun in any kind of way. It's really raw. So you want to strengthen it a little bit. Now, there's another thing we can do. I'm going to change the angle of the camera so you could look at my lap. Okay, see? So the other thing you can do, and just know that the more you handle your yarn, the less fluffy it's going to be. So keep that in mind as it's a fine balance between, you know, wanting that chunky, fluffy look and not having it break, having it strong enough, and not having it shed all over. So the other thing that I saw was rolling it on a towel. And this helps to get some of the fibers off. This is gonna take a little bit more time, but notice it does get a little less fluffy. But on a towel, it takes all that fuzz. So doing that until it stiffens up a little bit and strengthens. And it feels stiffer than like this. See this versus this. See? This. So I think I'm gonna do rolling. Okay, so one final note on felting and prepping your wool. As I'm rolling this, I'm gonna talk for a minute here. I did notice that some people were suggesting that you can actually, once you've felted it, you can wash it in the bathtub with cold water with maybe just a dash of Woolite, and then hang dry it. I don't know how you hang dry 8 pounds of merino wool. That I'd like to see, but yeah. The thing is that if you wash it and then dry it, it does become even more stiff, and it will change kind of the softness. I mean, they'll stay soft, but it won't be as fluffy. So, I'm gonna try to avoid that. Now, other people have said that once you've knitted the blanket, you can also do a cold water wash and then hang it dry and then go in and fluff your loops, if you will. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. I'm hoping, and I guess as you're rolling this, like, put it in a gentle pile here. So, I'll see once I make the blanket after doing all this prep work, if I put it on my lap and I'm still getting a lot of shedding, I may actually just gently wash it in the bathtub and then hang it dry and fluff it. We'll see. You're on the journey with me. I don't know what I'm doing, so hopefully this all works and it's not $100 that I've just burned. And hopefully my mom likes it. She's very particular. Okay, I'm on a big floor. I have a lot of space. You're gonna need a lot of space. I got my big old pile of yarn over there. I've got my tail over here. I've decided for 8 pounds, 8 pounds you can get a 50 by 60 blanket. That's too square, I think. So we're gonna go with 40 by 70. I want a little bit more length to it. So I borrowed my hubby's tape measure here. And so I'm locked in at 40, and I'm gonna see how many stitches. I'm guessing it's gonna be about 18 to 20 stitches-ish. All right, so join me as we get this started, because this row is the most important row. It's the first row, I guess. So, and I know when I've had my disasters in knitting, this is really where I screwed up. So, okay, I've got a video online. Let's explore here and see how we do this. Okay, this is about doing a slip knot and then creating your bottom row. And from what I understand, you need a little bit of a tail that you can weave in. So, this is the end of my... also, sidebar, felting this 8 pounds of yarn took a handful of hours. So just keep that in mind as you time this. You know, everyone's like, oh, get this blanket done in under an hour or 2 hours. Felting took a long time. So probably took longer than the actual knitting is going to take. All right, so we're gonna watch this video. It's a YouTube channel called She's Crafty and She Knows It, and she makes it look really easy. She also has some really pretty yarn from Michaels, which I thought Michaels didn't carry, but okay. So we're gonna hit play.
Okay, so here's my big yarn ball.
All right.
You're gonna start with one piece. Here's like a little tail.
Okay,
and
tail.
you're gonna do basically a slip knot. So
Slip
you're gonna wrap
knot.
it around your hand.
Wrap around your hand.
Just like that.
Just
and
like
you're
this.
gonna pull it through.
And we're gonna pull it through the
loop.
Pull
it
through
tight.
it. Pull it.
This is the end. So I want it to be about the width of my hand.
Okay.
Like this.
So you pulled it tight.
And pull it tight. Okay. Now all you do for the bottom, for the chain stitch, is you have this loop and you're gonna pull the yarn through it to make another loop.
So you're pulling from the
keep doing that for the width that you want. So I'm gonna do about 20 loops all the way across. So I'm gonna pull it through. You're just gonna keep pulling it through.
Okay, hold on, I'm gonna pause her for a second. She's going super fast. So what ends up looking is like a braid. I'm actually going to do this flat on the ground to make sure things are even. I think that's the beauty of hand knitting versus arm knitting. You can control this a little better and keep the stitches at the same length. All right, so hold on, I'm gonna move this over. All right, so we're at 18, 19 inches right now. The stitches are about about 3. I mean, you can make them a little longer, but then it's gonna get kind of stretchy. So maybe the tighter the better. I don't know. All right, so I'm gonna keep going. See what I'm saying? When I had this in my hand, this got tight, and now when I'm down on the ground, this can be like a little bit looser and fluffier. So, and it helps to, you can control the tension, I guess is what I'm saying, when you're on the ground. Not that I know what I'm doing at all, but anyway, I'm gonna go with that. All right. Okay. Be real careful with our yarn again, even though it's gotten stronger since we felted it. You know, always have kind of a batch unspooled. Okay, 25 inches, and we keep going. Okay, so we're at 26, and it's a little over 40, but that's okay, a little extra. So I did a 27th stitch. Okay, so this is the one that's gonna start our next row. And I have it kind of large, and I kind of looped it up here, and I guess you leave it there, and now we're gonna work on what this YouTuber said are hills. So I guess this is a hill, and this is they're like little bumps or hills up top here. So think about it like boop, boop, boop. Almost as if like, you know, you drew some hills, you know, with your kid, and a little drawing. Under the hill is a little space for a loop, which I guess we're gonna take our hand. Okay, keep this over here, pull up like that. I hope I did this right. And I guess to keep them the same, use the width of your hand to make sure your loops are the same size. So that's what we'll do. All right, keep the loops up, pulling up. Am I like totally, is my head in the way? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Okay, so width of the hand, right? Width of the hand. Another hill. We're gonna take our fingers, pull through the hill, and we're gonna use our hand as the width, and there we go. So, another hill, find a little hole under the hill, pull our finger through, use the width of our hand, tighten it up a little, and there we go. I would imagine this is where you get kind of confused because things get kind of mushy. This yarn is so fluffy. Okay. Okay, I'm at the end. I've got my final loop from our little bump, and now I'm going to go to the next row. So I'm going to pull from this last one and pull up like that. And this is going to be, always have some extra yarn up here so you're not pulling too hard. Okay, so this is my next row. And I guess now I'm pulling from through this next loop. Okay, yeah, we're pulling. Okay, so you're pulling. So you're using, all right, okay, all right. So you're not looking at these other bumps down here. You're pulling from these loops that you just created, right? Okay. These loops up here, that's what you're going to do. You're going to pull through like so. You're creating a whole new row. Again, use your hand as a measure to make sure your knots are kind of the same height. So here's another loop. Pulling through like so. Pulling through. Oh my gosh, I think it's starting to look like a blanket already. This is crazy. Okay. So do you kind of get it here? You're find your loop that you made from the last row. See this loop? And you're using these loops to create your new row. So I'm using my hands, I'm pulling through fresh yarn and bringing the loop up a row. So I went to this end and I pulled up this loop and I'm going to basically start my next row. So I think we just continue on like this until we get to our 70 inches. So this was about 26 stitches across. We'll see what we end up with to get to as close to 70 as possible. Okay. Okay. You know, as you move down, you end up rolling the bottom to just make the whole thing manageable. So this ended up being about like 75 inches in length, and I still have some extra. So you want to leave a handful to close it off when it gets to the length that you want. So let's try closing it off, which looks pretty easy. Okay, so I ended up running it through that last loop at the end, so it's kind of hanging out. And I guess you put two loops together like this, and you run it through the two loops like a donut, and grab the next loop and run it through. Grab the next loop. Hope I'm doing this right. And run it through and see how we're closing it off like that. At the end, right, we did the two loops. Pulled through. We're going to tie off a knot. And with the rest of this, you can just, I guess, weave it right in. So weave it into the side, into the side braid that's happening here. So just kind of fluff and even out your stitches. And that took 2.5 hours with that included maybe a 15-minute break. So So, yeah, so between 2 and 3 hours, you can get this blanket knitted, and then the felting took another 2 to 3 hours. So you can definitely get this done in a weekend, you know, off and on. Okay, so I am really, really happy with how this turned out, considering that I'm sort of, I need to belong in like Knitting's Anonymous or something, because I can't do it, generally speaking, but this was really easy. I'm glad I didn't arm knit versus hand knit. I'm glad I hand knitted. I was able to control the stitches on the ground. I was able to get up, go to the bathroom, have a bite to eat, answer the door at one point. So if you're arm knitting, you're kind of stuck, really, pretty much. So that was number one. Number two, though I'm hand knitting on the floor, it hurt my back like a lot. So I had to keep doing some yoga stretches, and I don't care how fit you are and how much yoga you're doing, it's gonna hurt your back. So I don't know if maybe you get it started on the floor and then maybe you move to a dining room table or a bed or somewhere where you can actually have some support on your back. Cause you know, I was bending down. So that was, I think, the worst part of it. This yarn that I got, even though I did all that felting and pre-work, which took about 2 to 3 hours, it's still kind of shedding. So I'm gonna do some more research because I don't want to ruin the softness and the fluffiness of this, but I also don't want this to shed all over. The person who I'm giving this to would be super, super aggravated with me. She likes things just so. So, oh, I think I mentioned it was my mother, so I suppose I should just tell you that. It's my mom and she likes things just so. So yeah, shedding's not gonna be a thing. So I'm not sure beyond the felting what else I could do to make this less fuzzy. There are some yarns out there that don't shed as much. I would do some research to figure it out. Think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. I think this turned out great. I turned out to have the 8 pounds turn into about 75-ish inches long to 42 inches wide. So that's about, you know, where you're at with the blanket. So that's it. Thanks for joining me on this craft adventure. I'm going to leave a note in the description with a link to the YouTube channel that if you were watching this, that we were watching for some of the guidance on this project. I think her video is really good. She's got a great channel. She does not know she's being mentioned. There's no collaboration. I'm sure she doesn't even know I exist, but I just want to give her a shout out because without her YouTube video, I would not have known what to do here. So anyway, of course my sister texted me with all this knitting jargon about stuff with this rolling and some other, I don't know. She got all knitting expert on me on this project, so I have to go answer her back. But that goes to show you that you don't need to be a knitting expert to do this, okay? And like I said, I'm really bad at knitting, so give it a try. It's a really, really easy project to get done in a weekend, and what a great thing to have on your bed, on the couch, and it's such a statement. It just adds such soft, fuzzy luxury to the room, you know? So anyway, thanks a lot. Have a great holiday, have a great crafting season, and join me for my next adventure. Bye. Oh, look, fuzzies. Bye.